So today's session is starting a two-part conversation on the process tools. And we're going to be talking about how to document processes using the process tools. In addition to that, I'm going to also be highlighting our newest tool, which is called the custom form tool. I attempted to do that unsuccessfully last session, but I've got it dialed in this time, and it's actually live and available for everyone, so that makes it a bit easier. So to get to a process, you either go through the 4 key functions right here to a process that you've entered, and you select it, and that takes us to what we call the process tools. Another way to get there is through the organization chart. So once you've linked all your processes to job descriptions, you can select a position, and then you choose a process from that position, and it takes you to that process. If I select this, it takes us here again to the process tools. So we're going to go to a specific process to use as an example. So again, this is called the process tools page. First thing I want to show you is this toolbar item right here, which we saw last week during job descriptions, but I'll just highlight it again. If you go link to job description here, you'll be able to see which processes this job description has been linked to. And you can also link it and unlink it from this screen. So this is just a quick way to do a double check to make sure that you've linked the process to the right or correct job description. And then if you've noticed that it's not on a position, then you can move it and you can take it off or add it from that position. So if I select this position right here, click, it's going to ask me strategic or tactical section of the job description, and I hit link. If I want to remove it, same idea, you just select a box that's orange, and it'll take it off that job description. All right. So over here to the left, these are all the tools that we have available for you to document with. The first one at the top here is called a work plan. And a work plan is basically a step-by-step set of tasks or instructions on how to do that work. The next tool is called a checklist. And a checklist is meant to be for quality control. So if you need evidence or you need verification that the steps of a process have been done, then you can use the checklist template. Next tool down is called a script. And a script is for documenting a conversation. So usually what happens is you're in a work plan and you're writing out the tasks, and you may get to a place where someone needs to answer questions, they need to leave a voicemail, they need to explain something verbally, and then you know you could use the script template, or you need the script template. This is an example of just a one-time script. Leave a voicemail message, this is what you're doing, this is what you're saying. You can also have conversational scripts like this one. So this is the greeting, the if-thens of what's happening and then what's being said. Or you can have frequently asked questions in scripts. This is the question, answer, question, answer. So if the process has a verbal interaction in it, use the script template. The uploaded files tool is for uploading documents to TouchStone. So Word documents, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF. So anytime you need a document in its original format, one of these software programs, then you can upload that whole document to TouchStone. The form tool, this is a tool that allows you to build forms like this one, although I'm going to show you our new custom form tool, which is better for columns and rows type forms. The form tool is also like a blank Word document. So you see this toolbar row is very similar to what you would see in Microsoft Word, a simplified version of that. So you can use the form tool to write a narrative, put in paragraphs of information. You can put in pictures, large pictures right here using the image uploader. Our newest tool is called the custom form tool, which is right here. And I'm going to be going through the details of this at the end of the session, but just to show you what it looks like, here it is. The custom form tool allows you to build web forms that can be used in TouchStone. They can be printed, but they can more importantly be used in TouchStone electronically. So you have short answer fields, paragraph fields. You can do checklist boxes, drop-down boxes, single answer boxes. Next tool is called a policy note. So this is for documenting essential rules and policies regarding the process. So anything that's of the utmost of importance about it. Legal, compliance, safety related, just things that employees need to understand that they have to follow this rule, then you could document in this formal policy template. Then we have a video upload tool. So this allows you to upload videos. These are mainly for training purposes. They could be like welcome to the company videos, or they could be literally videos of the process itself, someone actually doing that work, or they can also be screen capture videos. And then the last tool is an audio upload. So this is just a flat MP3 file that you can upload and it can be listened to inside of TouchStone. Audio files are great, or audio uploads, when you have scripts, because you can give a verbal, you can do a demonstration of it or a role play of it so people can hear how it's supposed to sound. They don't just read it, but they can hear it. So to build a work plan, and all these tools work the same way. What I'm going to show you in how to build a work plan is exactly the same steps for building all the tools. So to build a work plan, you just click the work plan title. So I just hit right on the text itself. You put in the name of the work plan. If the process is only going to have one work plan in it, then usually the name of the work plan is the same as the process itself. So I'll say that again. If the process only has one work plan in it, it's not going to have multiple like this one does, just one. There's only one workflow, there's only one series of tasks, beginning to end, and that's it. Then make the name of the work plan the same as the name of the process. There's no reason to make it different. The objective is the same as process objectives. What is this here for? So this is a sentence or a phrase explaining what is in this process, what is the result of it, what is the objective of it. Then I hit create. Now you'll see I've got 3 work plans here. Got these 2 that came originally and then this new one that I just built. So to continue to build a work plan, the first thing you do is add a task. Then I click open the task field, and then this is the first task. Then I would save it. And then I go add task again, click open the task field, and then this is task 2. And I save it. So the best way to proceed with a work plan is to start to think, what is the first thing that happens, the second thing, the third thing. Try to think in a sequential order. What's the first step? What's the second step? Describe it in as much detail as possible. This toolbar is very similar to what you would see in most word processing. There's a few things that are different about it or special to it. One is the hyperlink tool. So to make a hyperlink, you highlight the word that you want to become the link word. So whatever you highlight is going to turn blue like a link word. I hit this link chain, and then up comes the hyperlink box. If I hit this drop down, I see all the link types available. The first type of link is called an external link. So this is if you want to link to something outside of TouchStone. So to another website, to another web page, to another web tool. TouchStone will link to anything that has a URL. If it's something like Google Docs, or it's another web tool that you have that runs on the internet, as long as you're past the username and password screen, so you're logged into that other tool, then the link TouchStone will take you right to that page. The other link types are things that are inside of TouchStone. So you can link from a work plan task to a job description, or to a whole other process, or to another work plan, or to a checklist. So everything inside of TouchStone, all of these tools, you have the ability to link between them and something else all throughout TouchStone. The reason you would want to link to something is if there is information within that somebody needs to finish this task, or you want to show where one process ends and another one begins, or you want to point directly to a tool and say, fill out this form, and then make a link right to it. So when I choose any one of these, I'm going to see a drop-down list of everything in TouchStone of that type. So these are all my processes in TouchStone so far in alphabetical order. And I would just choose what I want to link to and hit Insert. And then once I save this link will be active. The toolbar also has an image uploader, which is this little tree icon at the end of the row here. So images are great for documentation. If you've got an image that's a picture of something, a literal picture you've taken with your camera, you can download that picture to your computer, save it as a JPEG, GIF, or PNG file, and I hit Choose File, and now I'm looking at my computer, and I would find the image and then hit Open, and then once the image is inside the file field, then I hit Insert and the image will appear. There's a great tool that some of you have heard me talk about before for doing screen capture images, and it's called Jing. It's right here. It's the little sun. It's J-I-N-G. It's a free tool that you can download from a company called Snagit. I think it's Smith Tech is the name of the company. But Jing is the free version of their more robust tool called Snagit. The free version is perfect. I use it every day. So I'm taking a picture. This is little crosshairs of Jing. And I can take a picture of something specific. So you can dial it in really close to the image you want. Once you capture the image, then you can save it and then upload it to TouchStone. It also has some other features in it, which I'll show you. So here you can draw arrows to things. You can change the color of the arrows. You can put in text boxes. So to highlight something specific, and then you can drag all these boxes around the image. You can highlight things like this, and then make that a different color. So with Jing, it's pretty cool because you can, not just take the picture, but then you can kind of like reinforce certain aspects of the picture. So if I wanted to upload this to TouchStone, I always save these as just the word save. And then I save them always to my desktop, save. And then I would go here, I'm on my desktop, I type in save, it comes up, and I hit open and insert. The next time I take a picture, I save it as save also, and it writes over the last one I took. So how that helps is you don't have like 5,000 pictures on your desktop. You're just rewriting the last one you took. And in that way, they're all in TouchStone, but there's no reason to save them back to your computer. Once the image is in the task field, I can drag it in and out and make it bigger or smaller. So I'm just holding my mouse key down and dragging in and out. And then once I save it, then there's that image. If you want to adjust the image from there, oops, I hit the link instead of the image, then you can just select it and it'll open and you can edit it again. The best thing to do is to, I keep hitting the link, the best thing to do is to take it the size that you want it with Jing or what other snipping tool that you have, and then insert it that size. You can always drag it in and out and adjust it in TouchStone like I did, but it's better to kind of keep it the same size, have the size in mind while you're taking the screenshot. Underneath the task section, there's a section of the work plan called expectations. So the expectations field, if you want to add expectations, you just click add expectation, and then this becomes number 1. So the expectations field is for anything extra you want to say about the work plan. So it's not something that's a part of the step-by-step of the work plan. It's a timing of it or something subjective. Sometimes this is referred to the things that go beyond the expectations of the work plan, of the work itself. So you're going through the tasks, and if you do these extra things, things that are expected, then it's going to make the work that much better. It's the difference between just doing it and doing it really well, paying attention to the details. So after you've built the tasks of the work plan, think about the expectations. Just ask yourself, is there something more I can say about this that's important? Is there something I can say about how it's done, why it's done this way? So let's take a look at this work plan. Oops, this one. So let me talk just a bit about some do's and don'ts in writing work plans. Number one here, you see an example of a link to something. So if there is a training video in the process, like there's one right down here, it's nice in the first task or the last task to say, watch this training video. Anyone who's looking at it can see that, here's that it has a video in it. But when somebody is walking through the work plan, if you point them to everything that they use regarding that work plan that's in the process, then that just can be helpful. So this is a link to that training video. Here's another example of that. Schedule the program introduction appointment. So this is a whole other process that someone would follow. When you're writing tasks, try not to write as a narrative like this is. So this text right here is the same as this, but you see the difference, right? This is written as a narrative, so it's a story that somebody's telling. Prepare the appointment, you will do this. Some people have that writing style where they think in pictures, they tell things in stories. Then consequently they also write that way. Very descriptive, flowery language, lots of descriptive detail. When someone's learning something, it's easier to follow a step-by-step if it's formatted like this. So use bullets and sub-bullets to kind of get further detail. If you see something in TouchStone or you've written something like this, break it up into steps. Start by looking at each sentence and seeing if you can break it apart. Anytime there's a comma this, comma that, comma this, those commas usually can represent bullet points. So articulate it or write it more like this. If you start off with this style in your documentation and you train your employees, or if you're an employee on the line, you reinforce this idea of writing like an outline, then your documentation will start to look and feel the same. Inside of TouchStone, you're kind of forced into the step-by-step because the work plan makes you do it that way. It says add task, add task, add task. So when you add those tasks, you're in a sense building steps. But furthermore, use bullets and sub-bullets. So if I click open this task right here, these are the bullets and sub-bullets, and you get them right here. You can use the indent to indent in your bullets to make them sub-bullets of sub-bullets if you want. But the bullet text is right here. When you're documenting and you get to a place where there's kind of a decision tree, or if it's one way, do this, if it's another way, do that, use if-then statements. We get this question all the time about why we don't have flowcharts in TouchStone. The reason we don't have flowcharts is because when the purpose of TouchStone is to document the process to the point that somebody could follow it, learn it, and know exactly what to do. When you start to think in flows and pictures, first of all, that only works for certain processes, but even in the processes that it works for, the flows tend to branch off into different flows. So the flowcharts become very complicated, and you can't really show when you flow off in a if-then direction, if that goes into a whole other process or to a whole other area. You can show that in a flowchart, but when somebody's trying to learn from it, it's complicated. So it's better to think of it more in an outline. And so how you can handle these if-then decision points is by statements like this, right? Task, if-then. If this, do that. If that, do this. So it's fine to be going through a workflow task by task and then doing if-thens in between and then going on with the rest of the tasks. Here's an example of a hyperlink to another process. So these hyperlinks are great because they eliminate against redundancy inside of TouchStone. So in this process, somebody needs to enter the leads that they've generated into the CRM. So rather than repeating the steps of how to enter a lead into the CRM, we just link to this process called entering leads, and it takes you to a process on how to enter leads into the CRM. This is kind of a nice process structure for your software programs too. I'll just point this out since I'm here. I've been running the business under IT. I've got CRM how-tos, QuickBooks how-tos. So when you select one of these, you can have numerous work plans which kind of go through the how-tos of using the other software that you have. And then you can hyperlink these specific actions or these tasks to other processes where somebody needs to do that work. I'm going to go back here to this referral process. So step-by-step tasks. Here's a few examples of expectations down here at the bottom. Timing, that's a good thing to think about for expectations. When is something done? How often? Subjective things. So things that aren't specific and clear, but they're more like, you see it a certain way or you feel it a certain way. Standards. Anything that bridges into the policy realm, you want to consider whether using the policy tool if that's necessary. If it's just a rule or a standard or something important to think about, you can put it in the expectations. A good way to do expectations is to document your work plan and then just think to yourself, are there any expectations which could be important for this process? You'll notice over here that I've got multiple work plans. Work plans act like the sub-areas of the process. We talked about this a bit when we were doing the 4 functions webinar. If you have a process called referral development, and then there are multiple ways that you generate referrals from clients, from alliances, from vendors, and all of those tasks are different. So I do it differently when I'm generating a referral from a client than if I went to one of our strategic alliances. Those steps are different. Then they need separate work plans with separate step-by-steps. But it's all inside of this process called referral development. Everything related to referrals is inside of this process. So remember, you can make multiple work plans to kind of show the sub-areas of a process. Here's another example of that. This is, I think I have it. Here's the accounts payable process. So here inside of accounts payable, this is everything related to paying bills. How do you cut checks? How do you create invoices? How do you do special invoices? How do you make bank deposits? So combine like work into a process that is that subject. Sometimes you need to do this once you've listed out all your processes. And then you look at your process list and you say, oh yeah, I can combine this and that. So let's talk about this toolbar row right here for a minute. This icon here will convert a work plan into a checklist. So we're going to talk about the checklist tool next, but I'll just show you this while we're here. If I select this box and then I say OK, now TouchStone has just taken this work plan here called Referral Development Clients and turned it into a checklist. So here it is down here. So this is a tool you want to use when you've documented a work plan and then you think to yourself, well, this really needs a checklist for it. I really want some evidence that this has been done. When you convert the work plan into a checklist, a good thing to do is to go and delete extra information. So the work plan itself has all the details in it that ideally somebody could follow and learn and know how to do that work. Whereas a checklist is just the quality control. Did it, did it, did it. So to make it simple for the user, you can go down here and maybe like delete all of this text and save it. So now you'll see there's no description field, but all I really need to know is prepare for the appointment. Yes, I did that. If I want to know how to prepare for the appointment, I can look back at the work plan. So simplify the checklist. Kind of make them like really just easy glancing, did it, where someone can go through pretty easily and check off the steps that they did. This icon here will allow you to move a process tool out of a process into another process. So if you're finding yourself in the situation where you've made too many process titles and you started to build work plans, but then you're thinking, oh, she said to combine things, and I think that looks tidier, so I want to take the work plans out of one process and move them into another, then this is how you would do it using this toolbar. So if I select this and hit the drop-down, I'm looking at all my sub-functions. So I'm going to choose the sub-function that I want to move this into. So we go to Admin, and I hit the drop-down. Here are all my processes that are in that sub-function. So I'm looking for the process that I want to move this work plan into. Choose the process, and then I hit Save, and then that work plan's gone. It's not here anymore. It's been moved into that other process. If you do this and you're like, oh man, it's gone, and you go to that other process and you can't find it, then chances are maybe you selected the wrong process to move it into. Just go up to the search and search for it and you'll find it. So this will move work plans, checklists, scripts, all these tools out of one process into another. This next icon over is our export features. You're going to see this icon, this right pointing arrow all throughout TouchStone. This allows you to print anything inside of TouchStone, but in this example it would print this work plan. So I can print it going directly to my printer. Remember, when you go directly to your printer, the printer settings, your own printer settings, are what's determining whether you have like the web footer or sometimes even the size, the landscape of it, the size paper. So TouchStone doesn't control that, your printer does. So once you hit the printer, you can go to more settings and change it, to print any way you want it to. You can also export to Word. So if I hit this, TouchStone would launch Word and export this work plan to Word. Print to a PDF, same idea except for it's a PDF document, and email. So I've said this before, but I'll say it real quickly again. You can export things all day long in TouchStone. We make it really easy for you because people need that reassurance. But be mindful of what you're exporting, because the minute you export it, now you have another version of that thing. And so it creates more redundancy on your network or throughout your system. So be mindful of what you export, and especially be mindful of what you print. A good protocol inside of TouchStone, if you want to show someone something. So a lot of times when you export documents, unless it's a form that you're printing, you want to show someone what you've done, or you want to show them the work plan. Instead of exporting it, emailing it, or printing it, just go up to the URL of that page and just copy this and then put it into an email and send it. And then whoever gets that email, as long as they're logged into TouchStone, they can click that link and go right to what you're talking about. To the right of the export arrow, this is our archive feature. So what the archive does is it allows you to keep versions of things, versions of your documentation. It's good to archive when you're in an industry where there's some compliance or regulations where you have to show that you've updated things. And we've got, there are numerous industries around that. You know if you are one. So this allows you to keep compliant versions because the date and time stamps it, and you can go back and show how it's changed. Another reason to archive is if you're having somebody go in and update a work plan for you, and you want to remember what it used to look like, or you want to be able to see side by side how it changed, what they changed, then archive it first, and then have them change it. So to archive something, you just click this little archive button. It says, are you sure you want to archive? Usually what I'll do when I'm archiving is I'll call this version 1, and I save it before I'm going to archive it. And then I go to archive. You don't have to do this, but this is just something you can do to make the title a little different. And then I say OK. So now TouchStone's put a version of that in the archive, and then I can go back, get rid of this, and then change this work plan. Then if I ever want to see what this used to look like, I'd go to View Archive, I go down to Work Plans, and then I see it right here, version 1, and it gives the date and time stamp of when it was archived. I can view it just by selecting it right here. Now I'm just viewing it. Or I could go back here to restore, and I could restore it. So by clicking here, it's just going to throw that version back into the process list here. So under Work Plans, I now see it. So archive things when you're going to change them. Sometimes processes are completely redone. So sometimes it's nice to just archive what it used to look like. Archiving uploaded files or forms can be a good idea, because if you have like contract templates or spreadsheets or anything like that that you want to remember the way you used to do it, then having it in the archive can be handy. In the, to the right of the archive is our delete X. When I hit the delete, it's going to say, are you sure? And whatever's behind me here is what I'm going to delete. So whatever I'm on this work plan right here, and I know because it's right behind me. If I hit OK, then that work plan will be deleted. If you ever accidentally delete something, you can go back here to View Deleted, and just like the archive works, I can go and find that tool that I've deleted, and I can restore it if I want to. The only people who can delete things in TouchStone are the admin users. So here in Account Administration, you set up user rights for your employees, people who are going to be using TouchStone. And if they're using TouchStone and they have restricted rights, they're not going to be able to delete anything anyway. But the admin users can delete. All right, let's talk about checklists next. So to build a checklist, it's the same thing as work plans. I just click the title here. I put in the name of the checklist. Then I hit create. And now I've got the new checklist. Then when I hit add checklist item, there's two fields. One is for the description or the title. So this is the text that's going to go right next to the box. And then there's a further description, and this is where you can put in more detail. But like you heard me say before, don't get into a whole lot of detail with checklists. The detail needs to be in the work plan, because the work plan is what's used for reference, for training, for understanding. The checklist is just check, 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 did it, did it, did it. Then add checklist item again, and then you get your next box. So build a checklist when you need evidence that something's been done. So that's the primary thing, and you can define that in different ways. One way is that the process is so complicated and difficult and is done at different times that the employee themselves really needs to remember what they did and what they didn't do. So I have lots of checklists for this. You literally could not keep it all in your head and remind yourself of what you did and what you didn't do. Those checklists are easy to implement and easy to get employees to use because they're mandatory. Like, they can't do their job well unless they've got this checklist they can follow. Another type of definition or use for a checklist is for management purposes. So this is where you as the manager, you as the owner of the company, your manager needs to do some kind of reporting on the process. They need evidence that it's been done for quality control. They need evidence that it's been done because they have to refer back to it if anyone has any questions. So this bigger kind of strategic purpose for a checklist is a very valid one. Managers have a difficult enough time as it is. If they don't have methods by which they can manage without having to be there and seeing it all the time, then their job is difficult. So think of these checklists in terms of that. Is this useful for the manager to know that the work was done without them having to ask? Now, with those types of checklists, it's harder to get employees to use them because they think to themselves, well, I don't really need this, and they're just telling me to do it. And so there needs to be some explanation. So one place that you can explain is right here in the objective field. Show why, tell why the checklist is important to fill out, what it's used for. I know this isn't an example of that, but take that field as an opportunity, because then you're putting it in front of the employee all the time. We use this for customer complaints, or we use this to quantify the amount of this that was done in a day. And when employees see that, then if they care at all, they're going to start to realize why they need to use it and follow it. The number one thing that's going to stop your checklist from being used is if nobody's looking at them. So if I'm an employee filling out a checklist every day, every week, every month, and I don't have a manager who's coming back to me saying, thanks for the checklist, yeah, I got them, oh no, you forgot Monday, got all the checklists, there's no feedback like that, then before long I'm just going to stop filling them out, because nobody's looking. It's busy work. Why do it anyway? Whatever purpose you gave me to fill it out, you're not following up on, so why should I do it? So there needs to be a manager behind the scenes. If these checklists are being filled out in TouchStone, they need to be running reports once a week, once a month, once a day if they have to. Get a list of those things. Just make sure that they're there. Make sure that they're being done. The minute a checklist isn't done for that month, then they're right on the employee. Where is it? Where is it? If the manager does that on a regular basis, then these checklists will be filled out and they will be taken seriously. So don't even build a checklist unless you're behind it, unless you've got a manager who's going to be looking at them. Now, checklists can be used electronically in TouchStone on the home screen functionality here, which I'll show you in the end of the session today. So all the checklists can be assigned to employees. Employees can call up copies, date and timestamp them, put in notes, save them all back to TouchStone. Reports can be run on those checklists. But having said that, again, everything exports. So here with the export arrow, you can export these to a PDF or email them, or if you need a hard copy version on a clipboard, then you certainly can have that. All right. The Process Tools page has these little help menus throughout too. So if you hit this, it's just going to show you what the title is and how to do it. Obviously, you can go to the Resource Center and find all those things, but if you're wondering what these little question marks are, every time you're on a tool, you hit the question mark, it's going to define the different fields for you. Let's talk next about the Custom Form tool. In next week's session, I'm going to be going through scripts, uploaded files, both of these forms again, policies, video, audio. So these other tools are explained rather quickly, and we'll be doing that in the next session. But while I have you here, we're going to talk about the Custom Form tool, because this is our newest feature that we've released last week. So the regular form tool is this kind of blank Word document. The Custom Form tool allows you to build custom fields. So this is an electronic form, sometimes they're called. It's a web form. It's meant to be used on the internet. You can print the Custom Form tool. So same idea here. I could go to a PDF, and now it's launching PDF, and now this form's in a PDF. So don't worry about the fact that I'm saying it's a web tool. You can have these in a hard copy format if you need them. But they're best used electronically inside of TouchStone. So on the home screen functionality here, you can log in as a user, and if they're assigned this referral process, they can access this form. So I'm going to show you that here in a second, but let's first talk about how to build a custom form. So this is an example of a custom form. This is what it used to look like. So this is the traditional form in the form tool. So just a flat form. In the custom form tool, it looks a little different. You can build it differently. So the reason I'm pointing this out is if you have an existing form which is in Word and you've used it for 100 years that way, re-look at it, because maybe you could make it more savvy, make it more into a web form, which would be more efficient and easier to use. So re-look at your forms and build them into custom forms. So we've got a short answer field, which is, this is an example of that, when you've got a simple sentence or word short answer. There are longer answer fields, and this is all drag and drop, so I'm going to move this up so you can see it at the top. This is more of a longer answer. It's called a paragraph. So I give it a title, and then I've got this. When you go to fill this in inside of TouchStone electronically, it expands into like a page length if you need a further list of information like notes or someone types out a description of some kind. There's checklist boxes like this. So I know we have a checklist tool, but this is more for something short and sweet, as a part of a form, or it could stand alone, this checklist. Did you do this, this, and this? Check, check, check. There's a single answer field. So this is right here. It's called multiple choice, where you can fill in the boxes. And then there's also a drop-down, which I don't have a visual of right here. But these are all the features or the custom forms fields you can put into a custom form. So let's go and build one. So give it a name just like you would the other tools. You can give it an objective, what the purpose of it is. When I hit short answer, I'm going to get this pop up. So this would be like something short, a name or a company name, employee name. And then when I save it, then it's put the title field in and given me a field for that short answer. If I wanted to go and edit this again, I just select it, and now I can edit it again. Paragraph, same idea. So this would be something longer, a longer explanation. So a question you're asking or a situation you're presenting and asking what happened. And then you hit save, and then this provides a longer paragraph form to be completed. Multiple choice. So this is where you want someone to choose one of the answers. So you type in the question here, and then you give the choices. This wouldn't be A, B, and C, but it would be what are the choices, the drop-down choices. These can all be reordered just by dragging and dropping. If I want to delete a choice, I just hit this little negative sign here, and then it's gone. If I want to add another choice, this is C, and then I can add another one. You can add as many choices as you want. It keeps expanding down. And then I save it, and then the choices become these little circle box choices. Checklist, same idea. So this is choose one or multiple, and then you put in the same idea. What are the choices that they have? Save. Drop down is a little fancier. So use the drop down. I think when forms get really long, the drop down can be helpful because it doesn't list them all. It just provides a drop down. So this would be for drop down choices. Save. Again, I can add more or delete them right here. So then this is what the drop down looks like. Oops. I'll move it up so you can see it. So this makes it a little smaller, especially if you have like 10 choices. Then when you hit this little drop down, it conserves space on the form. So once the form is built like this, again, you can print it right here, but I wouldn't recommend that. More, you can go over here. And let's go, I'm not sure if I have here it is. So here's that referral process. Let me start from the beginning. So this is the home screen. I have a control panel assigned right here. So a control panel is the place where you and your employees go to use processes, fill out checklists, fill out forms, mark things as complete. You can assign control panels over here in account administration. So I've got this control panel for manager of marketing and sales. So I select that position, and now I'm seeing a list of everything I'm accountable for as the manager of marketing and sales. This list is derived from the job description. So whatever processes you put on the job description over here is what's going to show up here. This looks a little different because I can make work groups like you're seeing here, employee training. So right up here I can create these groups and then move processes into it. These are the things I do at the end of the month, my management work. So here's that referral process. If I select this, I'm taken to all the content for this process. So these are the work plans, the checklist, everything within it. This one's a little messy because I have all these things we added. But if there's a checklist, for example, I can go to this checklist, and then here I can save it as something, put in notes, fill it out, and save it back to TouchStone. The minute I save it, it date and timestamps it. And then if I go back over here, I can look in this folder and see it. It's right here, date and timestamped. If I had put a save as, like this one, it would show up there as well. I can look at everything I've completed in these folders, or I could go and run a report and see those things as well. But let's go down here to the custom form tool. So there it is here at the bottom, and if I select this, here's the form. Here's my drop-down choices, A, B, C. I can put in the name. This is the short answer, remember? This is the longer answer that gives me more space. This box can even be spread out to really long. Here's the multiple choice questions. Here's the checklist. So you'll notice with the multiple choice, you can only choose one. So this is one answer, whereas with checklist, I can choose multiple. Then when I save it, it's saving it back to TouchStone. And if we go back here and look in this completed folder, you'll see it right here. And I can go back to it and fill it out and look at it again. Next day, if I'm doing this one more time, all I do is go back to the form tool right here. Once I select it, now I've got another blank copy of this form. So these are electronic forms that you can begin to start using in TouchStone. It makes it really easy to fill things out like this. Employees can even do it from their phones. We're currently working on a mobile app for it. Now they have to log into TouchStone on their phone and call up the form, which isn't a huge deal. But when we have the mobile app version done, which is going to be in a few, I think in another month or so, it'll just be easier and kind of cleaner to use on a phone. Let's look at another example of a custom form. This is a process called product and service knowledge base. So what this process is about is it's a whole set of information describing the products and services of a company. So this is a good kind of resource process to have, where everything related to what you do, your services, your materials, your products, whatever it is that you do in your business, if you put all that information into one process, it becomes a resource center for employees. And when you hire a new employee, you can say, go to the knowledge base and study those processes. There can be product instructional videos in there that you've created or links to YouTube, whatever works for you. Manuals on all your different equipment and tools and services, work plan descriptions. So someone's going to go through and study all this information and learn it. Maybe you give them 2 days of company time, or you tell them to do it at home at night, whatever the situation is. At the end of that time, you're expected that they've studied and learned this. Then you can build a little test, and this is the custom form tool. So here's a form that's been built that's a test of this process. How do our services benefit our customers? And they have to answer that. Explain how service A is delivered to customers. How do you troubleshoot product B? What's the best product for commercial customers? So you can make these tests inside a TouchStone and have the employee then go and complete the test. Now if they wanted to, they could go back here and go through this material and find page 20 and maybe find the answer. But there's a value in that as well. If you wanted to, you could build the test outside of the process in another process so that they couldn't refer back to the knowledge-based material. But in my opinion, and I've been a trainer for a long time, that's not necessary. Somebody is studying reams of information. If you ask the questions in a clever way, like how does this benefit, that's not answered directly. They have to come up with their own knowledge and understanding of what they've read and put it in their own words. So this is another great use of the custom form tool. They save this. The manager can go and run a report, review all the tests, go back to them and say, no, you didn't get this right, or study this more, or great, you passed, move on to the next one. I think I have one more example of a custom form. One-on-one meetings. We talked about this last week. So this is the one-on-one meeting process where your manager is meeting one-on-one with the employee and they're reviewing their job description processes. They're talking about work that's going on. They're going through issues once a week, once a month, once a quarter at least. So here's the agenda form as a custom form. So as a manager, I'd go into this agenda form. I put the employee's name, the date, items to discuss, goals from last period, goals from this period, things to resolve, notes, save it. So this is a tidier, kind of neat form for this. I can even go back and look at the form that I did last month and kind of have it side by side and then see the information for goals for last period and put it back into this one. But this is a great use of the custom form tool because it's forcing the manager to create an agenda, which is, important to do, and then it's storing that information back to TouchStone so that it can be referred to later, referred to by the manager, referred to by their manager, and all that information can be run a report and get a list of those things that you can refer back to. So this is the custom form tool. As we go through the rest of the trainings, I'm going to be highlighting even more ways to use the custom form tool. People will be getting an email about this, but we have gone into the library processes and built custom forms for some of the processes. So if you've already downloaded library processes, but you want to see if there's a custom form available, you go to that process, like performance review, and just put a little star next to the title and hit save. Now TouchStone doesn't know that you already have this process. Then you go back, add from process library, and now I can pull that process again. So that's one way of doing it. It's kind of fudging the system because then I can go to this and hit save, and now I've added this performance review process again. And then I can go and grab the new custom form tool that's in it and then put it into my performance review process. So that's one way you can do it right now. In the next week, we're going to have a special release in the library that's called Custom Forms for Guiding the Business. And you'll be able to go and download all of those one at a time and then spread them out to the processes you already have. So you can wait for that, or if you're anxious and you want to look at it now, you can do what I just did. Just edit the title of this a little bit so TouchStone doesn't know it's not there. Go down and take the form out, and then just go and delete that process once the form has been taken out of it and put it into the process that you want to use it in.